Billy got it bumping.
Leg drop, boot to the face, we won't fold. Put a dude in this place, he out cold. With a tombstone, grapple the waist, get laid flat. Can't escape, nowhere to go, the cage match. It's on now, when I spot him, it's no problem. Everybody stone cold till they hit with the rock bottom. Sharpshooter, I won't miss him like Bret Hart. Like Al Snow, they gon' need him a head start. I just might catch a better body than Mickey James. Get acquainted with the name, we bringin' the pain. Like Kane in the ring, all I see is red. Paul era, Undertaker, I can see the dead. John Cena putting hands in your face. 10 DBS, keep a milli on the waist. B2TF, better stay in your place or get smacked down, play it safe. What you talking about?
Welcome to another episode of Boot to the Face here on whatever podcast platform you listen to and on YouTube, powered by fullpresscoverage.com. Go there for all your sporting wants and needs, where I am sure they will be talking about how the Broncos did not want Russell Wilson so bad they are willing to eat $85 million in dead cap space. That is unfucking heard of.
Yeah, crazy. What happens when they eat that dead cap space?
So say it's spread out over 4 years. I don't know what the terms are of this one, but I'll just use an example. If it's spread out over 4 years, that's what, 20.125 or some shit like that million a year, right? That is in their cap. So if the cap is 150, they're automatically starting at 130. They're paying 20 million for a motherfucker that ain't even there.
Ooh. I guess because they got to pay that out to him.
Yeah. That's crazy. That never happens. Like, usually a dead cat hip is like 15 million at the very most, but never 85. Like, ooh. And Russ ain't that bad. Like, they act like he was trash. He wasn't the problem. Sean Payton was the problem.
I'm about to say it smells like they did this because of Sean Payton.
Oh, definitely.
They butt heads back and behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. Weren't they getting into it on the sideline?
Yeah, Russ got tired of that shit. Nigga,
I
don't you
guess
know
it's
I'm
the
married
other way
to
around.
Sierra?
Huh?
You think I can take orders from you? I'm married to Sierra, motherfucker.
I know, right? But yeah, I guess it is what it is. I guess they just plan on getting like one of those bargain quarterbacks to go in there, or I guess somebody that's already on their roster.
We're both Cowboys fans. Could you imagine the Cowboys being like, not only are we not bringing Dak back next year, but if they were to cut Dak right now, it'd be I think I was reading a $79 million cap hit, and he's only got 1 year left. So it'd have to all be for this year. So they would just take 80 million out of the cap and try to get Trey Lance to be the quarterback and just say, fuck, like, it's crazy, man. You follow these teams and you invest so much time and effort, and they can make a decision that like fucks you over for the next foreseeable future as a fan, and they expect you to just stick with it. Like I ain't trying to hear that rebuilding shit. I want to win now.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, the whole situation is just crazy as far as the Broncos goes. But yeah, I get your analogy with if it's your team, like you want to win now. But does Russell Wilson land somewhere else, or are they saying he's washed?
Nah, he'll probably get somewhere else. Probably won't go take him to the playoffs. But imagine being like our boy Joey DeLore, big Broncos fan. You get Russell Wilson, you're excited, and he's been there for 2 years. You get Sean Payton 1 year into Russell Wilson, and you're like, hell yeah, in like a year or so, like this shit gonna be good. And they're like, nah, fuck that. Let's blow it up.
I'd be livid. I mean, Sean Payton better deliver now. He allegedly got rid of the problem, so you better have results.
I mean, look, he is a Super Bowl champion coach. He's won the same amount of Super Bowls as our coach, but I think he gets like put on this pedestal of being this great fucking coach, and it's like you had Drew Brees for like 15 years and you won one Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing for McCarthy with Aaron Rodgers all those years, but he
True.
doesn't get put on the pedestal like you said, like Sean Payton. So
And at least McCarthy was getting to the championship most years with Aaron Rodgers. You know, they were shitting the bed a lot when they get to the championship, but at least they got there. But Peyton and Breeze only got to the championship the year they won, I think.
Oh, really? I could swear they got to a couple of NFC championships.
They may have, as far as I know, the year they won was the one they got to.
I know they won the division a bunch of times, but yeah, you might be right.
They were like the Braves of the fucking 90s.
True. But
Fucking
yeah,
hate.
that's crazy. You think so? You say you think he's gonna land on a team and get them to the Super Bowl?
Maybe not the Super Bowl, but I think he'll land with a Minnesota or somebody like that that's right there. Tampa Bay. You know, Tampa didn't franchise Baker Mayfield, so he's a free agent now. They
Mm.
re-signed they re-signed Mike Evans yesterday. He said he wants to play with an elite quarterback and he wants to compete for a championship. But then he re-signed with Tampa Bay, and then Tampa Bay doesn't sign Baker Mayfield. So I think they may have had an idea that Russ and a couple other quarterbacks are going to be free, and that's why they re-signed him. Probably told him like, we're going to go all in to get a quarterback. So I wouldn't be shocked if Russell Wilson ended up in Tampa.
I'm hearing whispers of maybe Pittsburgh.
Nah, Tampa's honestly a good football team. Like all they need is a quarterback.
I thought that the team liked Baker though.
They didn't re-sign him. Maybe they didn't franchise him, not re-sign him. So maybe they're just waiting to sign him to it. They say, hey, we ain't gonna franchise you, but don't talk to anybody else.
Ah, gotcha. Well, I wish Russ the best as long as he doesn't land in NFC East.
Ugh. Could you imagine him going to New York or Washington?
I'm about to say I could see Washington trying to get
Washington's
him.
a fucking train wreck though. I don't even care who goes there. Like they could have Jesus go to Washington. I'd be like, whatever, they'll fuck it up.
Yeah, but I actually like Russ. I don't want to see him destroy his career in Washington.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. Um, I would ask you how your weekend was, EJ, but I kind of know already, which we'll get into later. So let's get into some pro wrestling talk, man. We got a lot going on this weekend. We had The Rock go on excuse me, go on Instagram and cut 21-minute promo, spliced highlights together. Then he came out on SmackDown, cut a promo. Him and Roman had a little bit of exchange. Um, Cody and Seth came out last night on Monday Night Raw. You know, AEW Revolution was this weekend, Sting's final match. Like we had a bunch going on. So I guess what we'll do is we'll start on we'll get the WWE news out of the way, and then we'll just have the AEW heavy show this week.
Let's get it.
Friday, I was on my way home. Well, actually, I was getting off work, and I just start seeing this video get shared everywhere on Instagram and Twitter. I'm like, what the fuck's going on with The Rock? And I see it's 16 minutes long, so I watch it. I put it on in the car. I put my little fucking put my phone in my little thing, and I'm just listening and driving. And then it cuts off in the middle of him talking. I'm like, what the hell? So I needed to stop at the gas station. I stopped at the gas station, and I'm like, there's no way. And I see the video had been deleted because I was gonna share it. And thank God that he reposted the rest of the video because the best part of it was at the very end of the video. But how'd you like The Rock's Instagram promo? And did you laugh the first time when he told Cody, fuck your story?
That was
I'm
definitely
still laughing.
that's definitely a laugh out loud moment. But I mean, this is the right way to use social media and to like intertwine it with what you got going on TV because anybody under the age of 25, a lot of times the main source of where they see their entertainment is the internet and through social media. So, it's a good way to stretch out your following and your footprint, so to speak, in the entertainment world. And I thought, and I was looking at it when I was listening to it at first, I thought it was a little bit too inside baseball, but then he like kind of reeled it back in. Because what was he saying at the beginning? He was talking about of course, he brought up Dave LaGrega's point, but he's bringing up the board stuff and all that. I'm like, oh, where's he going with this? But then he like brought it back in and tied it back into the wrestling, talking about what he told Cody Rhodes. So I like that aspect of it. But yeah, he's spitting facts. No lies detected when he was talking. I don't know. What were your thoughts on it?
So I'm looking at The Rock's Twitter right now, just Twitter. He's got 17 million followers on Twitter. 6.3 people have 3 million people have watched that promo just on Twitter. I haven't looked at the Instagram stuff.
Mhm.
When you said he tied it back into wrestling and the storyline, that's exactly what I wanted to go with. In that 20 minutes, he answered more questions than what they've answered on TV. What he said to Cody, why he's mad at Cody. Honestly, and I mean, veering off a little bit here, but kayfabe wise, people should be booing Cody. He told The Rock he was going to step aside, let The Rock have the match, and then on Monday, Cody admitted, "Yeah, I went back on my word." How should babyface get on TV and say, "I went back on my word"? Phrase it differently. You know what I mean? Like that just makes me feel like you're a piece of shit now. Of course, nobody cares. Like they still chanting for Cody, but Rock tied it all in. He involved Seth Rollins in it, which he had to do because if they're going to do this tag team match, he's got to bring Seth along too. Because right now, Seth is just kind of, he's that fucking, was it SpongeBob meme or whatever, where he's sitting in the fucking room looking through the blinds and everybody's outside playing.
Pretty much, yeah.
And so he was able to bring Seth into it. Uh, he was able to talk his shit to Cody. You know, he did everything he was supposed to do in that promo. I think I thought it was so good. It reminded me of why I liked Heel Rock. And a couple weeks ago on this show, when The Rock was gonna come back, I said he can't be doing the same shit he's been doing for the past 10, 15 years when he comes back, where he's getting one half of the crowd to channel word and the other half. Like the shit was corny. This ain't corny. This is fun. Him telling them motherfuckers, y'all finally got something you can inject in your veins besides cocaine when he was in Arizona. Like, that shit was wild funny to me.
Yeah, you know he gets a longer leash than any other person on the roster. I don't know if anybody else could have got away with that.
Yeah, he's the boss.
Yeah, right. Who's gonna fire him? I think they have to go up to the shareholders. That's how high he is on the totem pole.
Um, the other thing I want to bring up is Roman. So, honestly, Roman was standing right next to Seth looking through the blinds for most of this because he hadn't really done much since The Rock has showed up. And that's been a big topic of discussion. And so I want to know what you think about this. Do you think they've listened to people say like, "Damn, Roman's like a sidekick to The Rock," and that was why they had Roman tell Rock, "Acknowledge me." And I want to say this: I love Roman's acting in this. Like
Mhm.
he was mad from the moment Paul Heyman said The Rock was coming out, he was conflicted, and you could see on his face like, "I might get my ass whooped, but this motherfucker got to acknowledge me," and he told him to, and The Rock did it.
I wish Roman would have got his ass. Well, you gotta do something to the Jimmy and Solo if that were the case. We blood. Ain't no way he should get jumped by the Rock by himself or beat up by the Rock by himself. But
I
I guess
mean, but as the hierarchy in the family, if they're going high chief and tribal chief, like them motherfuckers can't supposed to jump in. Like they gotta let them work that shit out.
nah, blood is thicker than blood oath or whatever they said that their family did. So, but yeah, man, yeah, I agree with you though. With like you said, Roman's acting and his facial expressions, because yeah, he did not look happy when The Rock came out. But yeah, I think in this new era, I think they were listening to what people said. Roman was just uh, an ancillary character on the side while The Rock's been cooking these past couple weeks, and I definitely think they pivoted with Roman making Rock acknowledge him. With I think that was a nice little touch to the story.
Yeah, I enjoyed and it was out of nowhere too. It was like all of a sudden you just see his hand go right there. He was like, "What the fuck's going on?" And then when he was like, I need you to do something, I was like, ooh, I know where this is going. This shit ain't about to end right. But Rock did it and, said family first, whatever. Got his Dom Toretto on. And we're off to the races. So now it's looking like uh, the other thing The Rock said,
Mhm.
he challenged for a tag team match Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes versus The Rock and Roman Reigns. If The Rock and Roman win, then the main event for WrestleMania will be Bloodline Rules, which means anything goes. If Cody wins, the Bloodline will be barred from ringside. They said we'll get the lawyers involved. We'll do whatever we got to do to make it legally binding. It'll just be one on one. Two questions, EJ.
Mhm.
One, who do you want to win the tag match night one in WrestleMania? Two, if you're Seth Rollins, why the fuck do you care? Which is what Drew McIntyre's been saying. It's got nothing to do with you. You got a world title match you need to be getting ready for, and you're coming off an MCL tear that you didn't get surgically repaired. Now you about to wrestle 2 nights for what?
Pride.
Oh, pride makes a dumbass of us all. Some shit Mufasa said.
But going back to your first question, who do I want to win? That's what you asked.
Who do you
I
want to win? Because what do you want to see the main event of night two?
I want to see Seth and Cody win the tag team match because if traditional booking happens, no bloodline, I'll get everybody's hopes up, and then something will happen where Roman still wins on night two.
Could you
Some
imagine?
because that couldn't ain't that too like telegraphing it too much. If it's no interference and you think Cody's just gonna beat him straight up 1-on-1, something else has to happen if that happens.
Yeah,
That's why I want Seth and Cody to win. I don't
I
know what's gonna happen though. They could go either way because I think if it's bloodline winners, I think Cody's gonna overcome it all and still win, and Rock's gonna turn on Roman. I kind of want Seth and Cody to win just for my scenario to play out.
you just fucking turned me around because I was wanting bloodline rules. I was wanting chaos, but I think you're right. I think if Cody can pin The Rock
Mhm.
night one, that's his WrestleMania moment. You just pin The Rock. The same guy that's pinned Stone Cold Steve Austin, John Cena, and the Immortal Races all at WrestleMania. You just beat him at WrestleMania. Not a lot of people can say they did that.
Exactly. But then his dreams get broken the next night. He's still chasing, you know, after the title after that.
I kind of threw this out in our Discord, which if you're not following, check out our link tree and the link is there. Am I crazy or is like Cody and Seth just aren't hitting anymore?
I think we're in the minority because I kind of agree with you. I'm kind of getting tired of this thing they got going on every week, and we gotta have like 4 more weeks of it until before WrestleMania happens. I think we're in the minority, man. It's still over in every arena they go to. So maybe we're early out on it. Maybe people will see what we see once Cody finally wins the belt, which I'm not saying it happened at WrestleMania necessarily, but you know, the money is in the chase, like we always say.
Do you think we're in the minority? Or do you think the Cody Crybabies are just in denial?
What do you mean in denial?
All right, you watch SmackDown, right?
Hmm.
You watched Raw last night, right?
Indeed.
If I told you without you knowing, all right, going into the week, you don't know what's going to happen on each show. You don't know what's going to be said. I said I'm only going to show you one of these promos: Cody and Seth or Rock and Roman. Which one do you want to see?
Of course, Rock and Roman, because Rock is not a full-time, performer now. And every time he comes out, it's gonna be special.
So you're saying when Cody comes out, it's not special?
I mean, it's just standard Cody. I mean,
What about
nothing.
Seth? Is it special when Seth comes out?
I don't know. I don't. Not really, but I feel like the past couple promos that Seth cut were pretty good. Some people say they're the best of his career.
What about when Roman comes out without The Rock? Is that special when it's a
Yeah,
Roman appearance?
because he's pretty much part time now himself.
So here's what I'm getting at. The Rock and Roman on SmackDown felt like I gotta see this. Like this is about to fucking go so crazy. And it did. It went 40 minutes, which, probably a little too long. But everything that got talked about was important. I honestly can't remember shit from Seth and Cody's, and it was just last night. I remember Seth saying diarrhea Dwayne, and I thought that's the corniest fucking shit ever. But
That
just
better not catch on either.
the way that they interact with each other, the way that they I expected more fire, more vitriol, more, like these motherfuckers talking shit about us. WrestleMania is a month away. Like, I just expected more. And it was just Cody trying to use big words and Seth coming out there dressed like a fucking highlighter.
I mean, I feel like when The Rock and Roman are out there, like you said, as the kids would say, cinema, they're putting together storylines and furthering the storylines. I feel like Cody and Seth have been placeholders to get us to SmackDown, basically,
Hmm.
which is not a good thing necessarily.
There's a commercial playing on NXT right now for SmackDown, and it was going back and forth between The Rock and Roman on SmackDown and Seth and Cody on Raw. And just the look of the shows were I can't put my finger on it, but SmackDown just looked like such a bigger deal with The Rock and Roman and the bloodline there than it did with Cody and Seth. Um, I don't know. Cody and Seth got to step up. They got to because if you're losing me, I know you're losing other people. And right now, The Rock's overshadowing all of them. Roman's second, and then Cody and Seth the third and fourth. It needs to be Cody, Roman, Rock, Seth, in my opinion. But The Rock's overshadowing everybody.
And this is the thing about being a white meat baby face. I feel like it has its limitation. That's why in the late 90s, the anti-hero took over because they always throwing out promos and stuff that make you just say, laugh and they say edgy stuff. I feel like people are still hanging on that Cody hasn't finished his story and he's been saying the same cookie cutter stuff every week. But then I'm
Fuck your
afraid what
story.
exactly. I'm afraid what will happen to him once he finishes the story. Like what is he gonna do to keep us tapped in and with him after that?
Damian Priest gonna cash in on him while he's celebrating.
That's
Uh,
probably a topic we should bring up later because what is that guy doing with that briefcase? But I digress.
yeah, I mean you serve a good point though because Sting, Man of the Weekend, talked about it. The reason he went Crow Sting was because he was just a blonde haired, do good guy, and the business was changing. He said people were getting cooler. Even the immortal racists fucking dyed his beard black. Started wearing black instead of red and yellow.
Exactly.
The white meat baby face that is Cody, a motherfucker like The Rock comes around and you realize like Cody's kind of corny.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, we might be in the minority because he's still over with everybody. And they haven't seen it yet, but look what happened to Cena. Everybody was all about Cena when he beat who did he beat at WrestleMania 21 for the title?
Shawn Michaels.
JBL.
Was it
Was it-
JBL or
I
was
want to
it?
say it was JBL.
Yeah,
He
you
beat
might
for
be
that.
right.
Everybody was on the Cena train until like a year in, and he just kept winning and winning. I think the way they could get around that though, if they're smart, if they want to keep Cody this white meat baby phase, is only have him have like a 2 to 3 month title run before they get it off of him.
Oof. Could you imagine? Motherfucker been trying to finish the story for 3 years and after 3 months.
I mean, how else would they do it though without people getting tired? You think people would stay on board if he had it for a year doing the same promo every week?
I I don't think Cody should win the title.
I think he should. Not just not a this WrestleMania. Eventually, Roman can't have it forever.
I ain't saying Roman has it forever, but I don't know, man. Maybe
But,
the world title. I don't think he needs the title that Roman's got.
but who's gonna eventually get it?
That's not my point. My point is I don't think Cody needs it.
I need for you to explain what would you do if you don't have Cody win. I mean, he's the most over face. I know you're a J person, but
You saw how much of a superstar presence that guy has.
yeah,
I think you could pick right back up with Roman and Jay.
I mean you could if you book it right, but it
But yeah,
has to be somebody outside of a Noe family eventually though.
I think they missed. If they were going to pull the trigger with Jay beating Roman, they would have did it at SummerSlam because that storyline was perfect.
Yeah, but and that's another thing why I think Roman's gonna win. Because I feel like they didn't expect Cody to come over. I feel like they had the story written out before Cody got in the company. And we talk about Hogan's record. Maybe they are trying to target that. So they have to keep going past this WrestleMania.
I feel like Cody wasn't even in the plans this year, so now they're gonna put the title on him. Like he said himself, he didn't know what he was doing for WrestleMania this year until all this shit, until the Cody Crybabies came out. So yeah, good job everybody. You got your boy in the main event of WrestleMania, so he can look up at the lights again 2 years in a row.
Let's hope so. I hate to have to go back and get this clip just because he end up winning.
That's fine. I win or lose. I hope he loses because I just want to see chaos. I'm a
Oh
Cody,
yeah.
so like if Cody wins, like cool. He's not my cup of tea right now. Like I'm just, he taking on my favorite wrestler, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. He's competing against him. You're not going to win that. You know, Becky Lynch fought Mickey James in a feud, and I was team Mickey James. It's just the way it is. They're grandfathered in.
Fair enough. And we still ain't even talk about the beginning of Rock's promo where he went in on busted open Dave LaGreca. I feel like Dave LaGreca is the personification or embodiment of all of the people that we've been complaining about the past 2 weeks, and Rock put that guy in the dirt.
Yeah, Rock did such a good job. Like he pulls the clip of LaGreca in a fucking pink bathrobe and is like laughing at him. And of course, like they try to spin it and be like, Rock's talking about WrestleMania and Seth Rollins and Cody and Dave LaGreca. He never even mentioned his name. And I know he put a clip up of him,
Mm-hmm.
but they made that sound like Rock just had to say something to LaGreca. Like he was using you as a punching bag. You're the most popular podcast/radio host in wrestling. So and the loudest. But I don't know. I just feel. And a side note,
Mm-hmm.
I get SiriusXM every year around this time to listen to the WrestleMania coverage.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to hear the Sting coverage yesterday. They talked about Sting's final match for like 30 to 35 minutes. They kept teasing, taking phone calls. They took like 3 phone calls. And then I listened to Greca talk about The Rock and him in that goddamn bathrobe for the rest of the show. Sting's final match, 16,000 people in Greensboro. I'm sure the phone lines are blowing up with people that were there. And instead, they made it about him. That's the type of stuff that made me stop listening for a while, but whatever.
Narcissist much, but yeah, like I said, he represents all of the people crying about Cody not getting his title shot. And what I say, don't get that guy a podcast. You get him a straight jacket. He's right, man. He looked crazy as fuck in his basement, ranting about somebody not getting their way at WrestleMania. He looked crazy as fuck.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
EJ, um, you got me thrown off talking about fucking McGregor.
get your blood boiling.
You know who's not good? You know what McGregor would never win? Street Clothes Wrestler of the Week. And
Yeah,
that's where we're
not with
going.
that bathrobe on.
Shit, no. And that's where we're going now. You know, I don't know who I should vote for this week. You gotta.
I already know who I'm voting for.
Oh yeah, tell me your pick this week.
This guy might win for the next couple weeks because he's gonna be around. Got to go with my boy The Rock. Came out with the full $500 shirt on this past week at SmackDown. The week before last, he had the vest, but came in a full throwback this week. And so, he's probably leveled up to 500 now that he's nine-figure guy. That's probably $10,000 shirt. Yeah, but I gotta give it to my boy The Rock.
I didn't like it.
Why not?
I don't know. It didn't look right. It like he had it tucked in. You know, he had the half of it not buttoned. I don't know. It looked like it was too big for him. I didn't like it. I like the one he wore last week. That was a little bit better, the vest and all that. I just feel like you're the Rock. He never wore it like that in the '90s. He always had it open, had it untucked. That was just weird to have it tucked in.
I remember he did it. Didn't he have it tucked in when he was with the Nation for a little bit? When it was the Nation of Domination, he had it tucked in with the shorts.
Yeah, but it wasn't one of these kind of shirts. It was like a polo.
Oh, okay.
But when he was wearing these shirts, for example, like the one with the lion on it and the black one and the rock one, he never had it tucked in. It was just always open. I don't know. It looked weird because he's so fucking big. Him walking around with a tucked in shirt on, open up, looked weird to me.
Hey, you like what you like.
Um, my street clothes wrestler of the week. I'm gonna go with. I'm just gonna go with this because it was cool to see him in person. We'll go with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Okay, I can't even remember what the guy had on.
Older guy. He wasn't trying to do too much. Just pair of jeans tucked in with a suit jacket. Uh, he was very tactical because he threw a couple chops to the Young Bucks. But Ricky the Dragon, man, he still looks good for. He's older than Sting, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he's closer to Flair's age, if I'm not mistaken.
Flair definitely didn't win.
Hey man, you hating on his Gators?
Fuck Flair. Close second for AEW was my boy Stokely Hathaway. He was looking good out there.
Oh yeah, he did come out with the pre-show. I can't even remember what he had on either. What do you have on?
He just had on a suit as
Yeah,
usual.
y'all would keep
But
it
yeah,
clean.
street clothes of the week. I'm gonna go Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, mostly because I can't really remember what anybody else is wearing this week.
Fair enough.
Like I can't remember shit from Monday Night Raw. SmackDown, really, The Rock was the only one that came out dressed like that. And then Revolution, everybody had regular clothes on besides Flair, Steamboat, Stokely. So,
Yeah, I feel like the war will probably come down to people that cut the promos the most. Like you said, most other people just got their wrestling clothes on.
old boy's mama was looking decent. Uh,
Nick Wayne.
Nick Wayne's mama, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Mama Wayne, what they call her, Mother Wayne.
she's tall.
You were pretty close. You
Yeah,
probably saw how
she's
tall she was.
she's tall.
She have it on heels though.
Even if she did, she would have towered over me.
She's like 6 foot, like
I don't
that
know.
tall.
She just looked tall. She looked statuesque with what she was wearing. And
Hey,
she was towering over fucking Nick Wayne.
man, taller than her son. That's interesting. Hey, shout out to her for getting a check. even after her husband passed. She found out a way to get the check in the wrestling business.
She was good too. I was watching her like mannerisms and shit. Like she was into it. She wasn't just standing out there like collecting money. Like she was acting. She was as if she was really cheering for Christian and he was her guy. So shout out to her. She did a good job.
Kind of in the same vein as like a Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero made money after Eddie passed. There you go. But yeah, shout out to what I can't even remember her name. What is her name?
Shayna
Wayne,
Wayne.
Shayna Wayne, Shayna
Shayna.
Wayne. There we go.
We called her
Shayna.
something else last week, and you reprimanded me for that. So I
Hey
won't,
man, I'm not
won't
trying to
do
get us canceled.
I won't do that again. Let's get to the power rankings. I know we got Revolution to talk about, but we can do the power rankings before we talk about Revolution because Revolution was the first time Boots to the Face has been together since Royal
SummerSlam?
Rumble in St. Louis. Oh no,
Uh,
SummerSlam. You're right. You're right. We did hang out at Nashville that
but,
year.
but this is the first time I think since I've been officially on the show. That was before I was on the show.
Yeah, because me and Marty hung out at WrestleMania that year. So yeah, it's been a couple years. But let's go with power rankings and then we'll get into our Revolution recap and the Stingers last match.
You probably agree with me on this. It shouldn't be four. I mean, 5 through 2 on this list. It only should be one spot on this list, and that's the man they call Sting. That's my number one on the power ranking. There's no really other need to do the rest of the power rankings. Sting's last match, and he went out on top. That's my number one.
I agree. Um, this is a this was a week that most of your tradition stuff goes out of the window, and the power rankings are no different. You know, that going out on your back shit, whatever. Sting's different. Um, I was really glad that AEW did him right because he got treated like shit in WWE after a legend. Like they treated Goldberg better than they treated Sting. Think about that. Um,
Thanks for you.
and so to see AEW like go out of their way above and beyond, and to see him like turn the clock back with some of these. Honestly, that match on Sunday was really fucking good, and he wrestled the last half of it by himself because Darby was getting taped up. Uh, so yeah, I agree. Number one on the power rankings this week is just a stinger. That's it. No, enough said. Um, so now let's get to Revolution. Revolution was in Greensboro, North Carolina. I made the drive up Saturday morning. Um, not a big fan of Greensboro.
Yeah. How come?
Uh, it just, I don't know. The vibe just wasn't it for me. Like we walked around. Where'd we go? We went to Target first off to get mixers for the alcohol and the Embassy Suites. By the way, if you go anywhere, I know everybody likes staying at the Marriott, like because that's where the wrestlers stay for AEW. Newsflash: if you ever go to an AEW pay per view or whatever, if there's a Marriott around, it's probably where AEW wrestlers are staying, and that's probably where you'll pay like $350 a night because of that. Um, but I'm an Embassy Suites guy, man. I 2 nights. It was $236 total after fees and everything. You got a made to order breakfast for every morning, uh, omelet, waffle, French toast, like the whole nine. And then you get free drinks. You get 2 free drinks every day between 5:30 and 7:30. Now they weren't top shelf, but still free. Um, and in Embassy Suites, like if you're going on a wrestling trip and two buddies are staying there, there's 2 rooms. One room has a pull-out couch, and then there's the bedroom, and the bathroom's outside of the bedroom. So 2 dudes or 2 people can share that hotel room and not have to worry about privacy and shit like that. But Embassy Suites, man, I recommend that. So shout out to them, love them. Um, but Greensboro I just didn't like the vibe.
Hmm. Did you do any exploring when you got there Saturday? You got there Saturday, right?
Yeah, got there Saturday, went to the hotel. Like I said, we went to Target. Um, I feel like we did do something. I can't remember though. Then we went and worked out at the hotel gym, took a nap, got up and went to there was this place called 913 Whiskey Bar, which was a lot that was really nice. I did like that. Um, then met up with JD Hoop's big brother, Mike Hoop, hung out with him, went bar hopping, did a little adult arcade, uh did a couple of bar hopping Saturday night. Ended up getting back to the hotel about 1 or 2 a.m., like kind of drunk. But
Mhm.
eventually, when you start drinking and bar hopping, like you enjoy yourself. I don't know. I wasn't feeling Greensboro.
Hey, I mean, North Carolina in general. I mean, what town in North Carolina is really a blast besides like Charlotte, I guess.
And Charlotte's just okay.
Damn, so you just don't fuck with North Carolina at all, then.
I don't like South either.
Hey,
I
well
don't like
now,
either one of them. Which one's Greenville in?
that's upstate though. Charleston, my home city, is where it's at.
Well, I won't shit on Charleston because I've never been there.
You haven't? I don't know if you're a beach person. It's
I've
got
been to Myrtle Beach. Is Myrtle Beach Charleston?
Myrtle Beach is blah. Charleston. If you like island type vibes, then Charleston is your place to go.
Okay. Well, first Saturday, stayed out drinking as usual. Woke up Sunday, went and got breakfast. Uh, was laying in bed taking a nap, and I get a phone call. I'm like, "What the fuck? Why is he calling?" Answer the phone. Hello, where you at? What are you doing? Aren't you in Greensboro? And on the other line is none other than EJ Reed. I just touched down in Greensboro.
Yes, indeed. You know, I could not pull up to Sting's last match. Hit
EJ,
me. Go ahead.
I was gonna say EJ surprises me. Didn't even realize he was gonna be there. And then he couldn't. What'd you say? You couldn't check into your hotel?
Yeah. So I got there like around noon-ish. I had a rental car because it was only what, like $50, including taxes, $55. So I'm like, I'll probably be Ubering around, so that's cheaper than Ubering around. Uber is usually like 20 one way nowadays. So I got the rental car, drove on over to the hotel, and I rang the bell, and I'm like, I'm here to check in. She's like, check in until 3. I'm like, well, can I check in this a little bit early? You know, I'm from here out of town. She's like, no, check-in's at 3. They're still cleaning. And like, I tried to be nice with it and try to like, give it a puppy dog eyes, but it didn't work. So I'm like, well, guess I'm not checking in. So I went to this barbecue shop, and I don't know if I missed it on the show, but South Carolina barbecue is superior from North Carolina. The barbecue was mid, especially the brisket. Didn't have any ring around it. It was overcooked.
Ooh, no bueno.
Yeah, and then I went to what was it Buffalo Wild Wings, got a couple of drinks, and then went back to the hotel and was waiting to link up with you.
We went when we went to that 913 whiskey bar. Tabitha got a pulled pork, and she said it was really good. I didn't taste it. But that 913 whiskey bar again, if you're in Greensboro, I recommend that over anything else that I had. Um, did go to Green. Well, Hops Burgers was really good too that we had on our way out. I got a spicy something, I can't remember the name of it, but it was goat cheese, bacon, some kind of
Mm.
spicy jelly jam that they had on top of it, and lettuce and tomato. It was phenomenal. It was so good. So Hops Burgers in Greenboro is really good also. But yeah, so EJ's, running around and I got to paint my face. So I tell everybody to meet me at my hotel between 3:30 and 4. And about 2:30, 2:45, I start to paint. And it was actually easier than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah,
Um, yeah, I thought it was gonna be hard. I was like scared of it and I messed up a couple times, had to start over, but Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. The honestly, the hardest part was throughout the night when I was drunk, remembering not to touch my face because I kept doing this shit and I'd get fucking paint all over me. But painted my face up. My buddy Joey came from Atlanta the same day. He got there about 3. He came straight to our hotel room and he painted his face in stained colors. EJ showed up, took a shot, uh, and then we headed out to go to a bar to pregame. Uh, got to the arena and it was on and popping from there, man. It was the arena doors opened at 6 o'clock and the line went around the corner. And by the time we got in, the merch line was just as long as the line to get in. And this is the only issue that I had all night is the AEW merch is never where it should be. There were Sting shirts that I saw there that I wanted that aren't available online. And by the time I was actually able to get to the merch stand, they were all gone.
Jeez.
The only thing left were medium and small. Why, as a company, do you even waste your time bringing medium and small there? You see them fat fucks in your crowd.
Hey, tell them how you really feel.
You know, I'm an extra large. I'm probably one of the smaller fans in AEW for the most part. There ain't a bunch of medium and larges walking around there. Maybe EJ and like 17 other people. Everybody else is an extra large or above. You should never run out of extra large, double XL, or triple XL with AEW as your fan base.
How many merch stands did they have though? I wasn't really
Two,
paying attention.
two that I saw. I went upstairs and went to one, and they said, "Well, go around there. There's another one." There was two of them on the main level. That was it.
That's crazy compared to how many WWEs we have around the arena.
Shit, like 6 on every level.
Jeez.
At All In, the very first one, they had one merch stand.
That's it?
Yeah. By the time I was able to get a shirt, I got one All In shirt that says I was in Chicago for All In. It's a medium. I can't even wear it. I just got it because I wanted a fucking souvenir for it. It's like I got this Sting shirt that says Fatal Encounter, March the 3rd. I'll never be able to wear it because it's too small for me. But I had to have something showing that I was there, even though I got the chair. But I wanted like a shirt because that's my thing. I always whenever I go to a big event like that, I always like to get the event shirt that's there. And they had a couple of them that were really dope for staying in. I, you know, didn't get there early enough because God forbid I went and hung out with my friends beforehand.
To be fair though, All In when you went to Chicago, that was ROH. But still, one, two is not that much more than the one they had at All In.
Right.
Maybe they just don't have the personnel to run it, which it should be actually a priority if you're running the second biggest wrestling company in the country to finally beef up that personnel for the merch.
Oh, and to backtrack real quick, one reason that I didn't like Greensboro, they
Uh-huh.
weren't ready. They weren't ready. Like that place we went to before the show, the guy told us, he said, sometimes we come to work and realize that there's a big event here and we didn't even know. Like, how do you not know?
I don't know. Just unaware. That's bad though. If you're running a business, you should be aware of all like the events in your city, right? That's when you're supposed to
Especially
be making money.
when you're a bar in walking distance of the fucking Coliseum,
Hmm.
you should know every time that there's something going on there.
I'm sure like the website or you can even go to the arena. They probably give you like a schedule, the upcoming schedule. Like, that's something you should have on deck if you're a business.
Also, I was like, I'm not gonna say I was ready to fight, but I was really annoyed at these fucking dorks that were sitting next to us that kept bumping EJ's table and almost knocked his drink over.
Oh yeah.
EJ's got way more patience than I do, but the second time that guy did, he like sat his fat ass down and kept hitting the table like he wasn't sitting down like a normal person would sit down. He was like plopping down in the chair.
I thought Tabitha was gonna rip his head off. Oh, I didn't even notice it. That's why I wasn't getting annoyed. If I would have noticed it, I would have my ears would have perked up, but maybe I had my head up my ass, I guess.
Yeah, he did it the first time, and I was like, okay, whatever. Then he did it again. I was like, yo. And then Tabitha said something. I was like, oh shit. I guess I gotta say something again now. And the guy was cool. He's like, if I'd have knocked your drink over, I would have bought you another one. How about you don't have to do that? Just fucking quit flopping your fat ass down.
Damn right you would have bought another drink. You thought you weren't gonna buy another drink if that happened?
I hope he's not a listener of the show. Then again, if he is, fucking get better bedside manner. Tableside manner, not bedside.
If you knew better, you do better.
Right. And then his buddies that were facing us saw that he pissed me off the first time he did it, didn't say anything to him.
That I didn't know. Like, if you got friends being assholes, you gotta be a good friend and let them know to tighten up.
I just don't understand how you can have your chair up against the table behind you when you see people sitting there, and when you plop the fuck down, you feel the table pushing back against you, and you don't even turn around and look to be like, my bad. Like, just aloof and unaware. Um, that's, it's wrestling fans for you, I guess. Anyhow, we get into the event. Phenomenal. I've been to a few AEW shows. This is up there, man. The only complaint I would have is I wouldn't have got floor seats if I wouldn't have got first row. Um, I've never sat on the floor and anything behind the first row. It was not the best for the view the whole night, but the energy, the matches, the pacing, everything about this pay-per-view, I just fucking loved.
Some people calling this the best AEW pay-per-view ever. And we know that the company is centered around pay-per-views more so than the week to week. I don't know. I have to go back and think about it. It might be people living in the moment. I don't know. What do you think about people's thought? Like I've been seeing that on social media that this may have been their best pay-per-view.
It's the best pay-per-view I've been to, and I've been to All Out. I've been to two Revolutions now. I've been to Double or Nothing. Um, and it's the best. It's definitely the best one I had. Just top to bottom, man. You know, we could have did away with like the first hour of the show, I think. But then you're talking about Danielson and Kingston and the BCC and FTR.
FTR.
But like, because by 11 o'clock, I'm like, all right, let's fucking get Sting out here. Like we've been in this motherfucker for 5 hours now. Like, let's fucking go. But the energy of the crowd never wavered. Like I said, the pacing was good. I don't think there was a bad match.
Nah.
I am a little, you know, I'm a big women's wrestling fan, and I feel like the crowd kind of died down during Tony Storm and Deanna versus every other match that was there. It got
Just a little bit.
it got really quiet in there.
I must have been paying attention to my drink. For some reason, I didn't feel like a huge low, but I think you were probably more observant than I was.
Yeah, and shout out to the little curly haired chick in the first drink vendor. She was really good at making double jack and cranberries for your boy. I loved him. But yeah, it was top to bottom, man. This pay-per-view was good. And I've went back and I've watched Sting's. I haven't watched anything else. I just watched the Sting match before we started recording, and I didn't realize the crowd was as live as they were. But I guess just because I was so invested in it, they were fucking live for that match, man.
Yeah, like it translated through watching it back.
Oh yeah, big time. Uh my favorite part that we wouldn't have been able to see just because we didn't have commentary was when Darby when the match starts and Darby does his suicide dive into the announce table and the Young Bucks, JR out of nowhere goes, "Oh shit."
He said that?
Yes. Because he didn't know it was coming. And he looked up and he saw Darby flying at him. He goes, "Oh shit."
Hey, that's what happens like when people start to get old, like their real thoughts and reactions come out. A little less professional if it was JR back in 99.
They
Caught
were
him
in
off
the
guard.
middle of they were in the middle of talking about something. Darby just came fucking flying at him. And JR said, "Oh shit."
That's hilarious.
Yeah, I watched that shit like 3 times just because. Oh, crotchety ass Jr. Man.
How was his commentary overall? I still hadn't got to watch that.
He 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 and Shivani did really good this match. Painting the picture of Sting's history, and even Excalibur was pretty good. Man, again, I can't say enough good things about this pay per view. You know, Tony Khan is very hyperbolic in his press conferences and wanting to call everything the best ever. He said this is the best pay per view of all time. I don't agree with that, but thinking about it, I do think this is probably the best AEW pay per view they've ever done.
Yeah, is he talking about just AEW?
He said the
Because
best pay per view of all time.
WWE has too much history for you to go and say that. I mean, people argue WrestleMania 17 might be the best pay per view of all time, but I don't want to get out too much off subject. I mean, AEW has some bangers like in 2020, 2021, even the 2019, but I'd have to go back and like maybe that'll be if we do specials one day, we'll do something on that. What's the best AEW pay-per-view? And other topics that come to our heads later on. But I don't know, man. That one where with Danielson and Adam Cole, I feel like that was a good one, even though the main event was like all right because it was Christian and Omega. But he might be right though, man. Like if you put the context of everything that happened, especially Sting being the finale like that, definitely top three, probably.
It wasn't a bad match. Even Daniel Garcia opening it up against Christian was that was fun. And I think
How
I
do people react to the scramble match? Because I feel like that one probably could have got cut. I can't remember.
it was it was fun. That's all
Okay.
I can remember for. I remember it was fun. There were like certain spots in it where people in our section we were all kind of laughing and joking about it. So it was fun. It wasn't that probably was the worst match of the night, but when that's the worst match of the night and it's got all those superstars involved in it, you're doing pretty good.
That's definitely a way to get everybody on the card or people that weren't on the card a spot on there.
Yeah. Um, Osprey versus Takeshita.
My God.
Was this as fucking enjoyable for you in your seat as it was for me in mine?
Oh yeah, especially the last 5 to 7 minutes where everybody was standing up for the rest of the match.
Mm.
And I know you mentioned this before, maybe on the show, but definitely in person that the best match that you've seen in person was Seth Rollins and Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw. Uh,
Yeah.
I have to go back and because I've been to house shows. Of course, they're not gonna really put on bangers, but WWE in the late '90s, early 2000s. I went to one WCW show in my lifetime, and that's WCW. I mean, TV. WCW was more the wrestling company, but that was that time I told you where Sting and Bret Hart fought backstage. So I have to go back and look at that. But
It's one of my favorite nitros ever.
thinking back to all of the wrestling shows that I've been to, that probably has to be the best match I've seen in person
Mm.
was Will Ospreay and Takeshita.
Yeah, it's up there. Again, like we were talking, we were leaving. You can go back and watch that if you can find that Rollins and Balor match, but it doesn't make you there, you know. It may come across way different on TV than it does when you're in person. But yeah, I think Osprey versus Takeshita probably was the best match I've ever seen live. I told you when we were leaving, I think Bianca versus Becky at WrestleMania in Dallas was up there too. That was a really good match. Um, and crowd is a big
Yeah.
part of it too, right? Like if the crowd is dead, it doesn't matter what the guys are doing in the ring. So the fact that there was so much energy there because it was Sting's last night and them two were just beating the dog shit out of each other. That did make it pretty good.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I was gonna say it's the perfect storm of like the in ring, the hard hitting, the flashy stuff they were doing, and how the crowd was reacting to it. Because like I said, everybody in my section was like way into it. Uh, the guy next to me stood up and he was like getting everybody around us pumped up when some big stuff happened, and it was crazy, man. Just like the vibes, as the young kids would say, were off the
Mm.
charts.
Samoa Joe retains the World Heavyweight Championship by defeating Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page. I was very disappointed that Swerve didn't win. And then as I sat there when the Young Bucks were making their entrance and Ric Flair and everybody's coming out, I thought about it and I said, you know what? If Swerve would have won the night, it wouldn't be that big of a deal because of everything that's happening right now. Like it would have been forgotten about so quickly, at least in the arena, because you got the Sting video package, you got Ric Flair, you got Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you got the Young Bucks. Like so much shit was going on. I almost forgot that Samoa Joe just retained the title that fast. So I think Swerve will get his time, but I don't think Sunday was the right time to do it.
I agree. It would have got lost in the shuffle, and when you have the first black champion, world champion in your company, you gotta make sure to let that breathe on its own. So I was cool with Joe winning. Like you said, it would have got lost in the shuffle with Sting's retirement. So I'm good with the result.
Tony Storm returns her World Heavyweight Championship, not heavyweight, Women's World Championship versus Donna Palazzo. She's just sheer comedy. I know I said this didn't have a lot of energy in it, but I found her so fucking entertaining. And then Mariah May coming out there in the old school. You
Yeah.
know, it's weird that they let them do that because you had Sting and his kids come out later doing the same thing. Usually
Mhm.
on the same show, they don't let you do something like that.
That's true. I had my ass fooled for like 2 seconds. So I'm like, that's not Tony. Thought she had like the extensions in for a second.
Yeah, and Sting's kid definitely fooled me because I was like, oh my God, this motherfucker done went back to the Great American Bash 1990. Like for a split second, I was like, holy shit. And then I was like, nah, he's a little too thick to be Sting.
Yeah, his son got some meat on him.
And then when he did the little Sting howl, I was like, that ain't Sting. I can tell by the way he does it. But yeah, they both got me. Color me fooled.
Um, I know we'll get into the main event, but another thing that confused me a little bit is throughout the night they were announcing that the main event was going to be the Swerve and the Swerve title match and Samoa Joe and Adam Hangman Page. So like I was texting and I'm like, that's finishing. I like Sting's definitely winning if Sting is not even going on last. But then they like towards the end of the night they changed it back to the main event. I'm like, oh, he might be going on his back, but I was wrong either way.
Who announced that though? Because the two guys in front of me kept turning around. They were like, dude, Sting's not the main event. And I told them, I was like, that's bullshit. It's like AEW just announced it. And I told the guy, I said, show me. And he showed me a Twitter thing that he follows said AEW said it. And I was like, yeah, but where's AEW saying it? And he's like, I don't know, but there's multiple people reporting it. And I told him, I said, I'll believe it when I see it. And he turned around, he said, I hope you're right. And I sat there for a minute and I actually got mad. I was like, if these motherfuckers don't put Sting on last, but then I calmed down because I realized Tony Khan, through all his faults, through all the through all the mirrors that he uses and straws, if there's one thing Tony Khan does, it's take care of his legends, especially the man they call Sting. And I just knew that Tony wouldn't have it any other way without Sting being the main event. And so when Samoa Joe and Swerve and Hangman's music hit, the guy in front of me turns around and he goes, you were fucking right. I said, you should hear me on Boot to the Face.
Nice plug. No, but you said he saw it on social media. I didn't. I was looking on social media. They said Justin, not Justin Roberts, because he was not there. They were announcing it when they were going through like the whoever the PA was on in the big screen or whatever kept saying it.
Hmm. I
So
guess I was.
maybe Tony changed it last second. Maybe he thought he was gonna put that on, and maybe he heard the temperature of the crowd, or maybe he saw stuff on social media. He's like, all right, I gotta change this back or whatnot.
We were talking in my section when the guy told me, and I said, it's not like we're gonna leave, for Samoa Joe and all them, but nobody's gonna give a fuck after Sting's last match. And he was agreeing with me. He's like, yeah, I'm on your side. Like Sting's got Sting's got a fucking main event. We were sitting there talking, and I was like, honestly, like it'll do a bigger disservice to the world title match if they were to put that on after instead of putting it on before. Because
Mm-hmm.
nobody would be paying attention to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think they did right.
Maybe one slight nitpick. Maybe they should have kicked the show off with that.
The world title match.
Yeah.
I think through old school booking, I know the new thing is if you're not last, you want to be first.
Mm-hmm.
But through old school booking, the closer you get to the main event, the more important your match is. And so if that's the way those guys felt about it, uh, I would imagine, and I don't know how the inner workings of AEW backstage goes, but I would imagine Tony probably asked him. Or then again, Tony just said, "No, you're the world champion. You're going on second to last. This is the one time my champion's not going to main event, and it's because Sting is having his last match. But you're second. You're the co-main event."
Shit. MJF, when he defended it was against Tanahashi, he kicked it off first. So I don't
Did he?
know. Yeah. That was at
That was for
Forbidden Door.
yeah, that wasn't necessarily a AEW. I mean, it was an AEW pay-per-view, but it was like a different type of AEW pay-per-view. There was other didn't the IWGP title get defended that night?
Yeah, but that didn't even go on last because that was Sonata versus Jungle Boy.
Yeah.
It was Danielson and Okada main evented it, no title on the line. So
I think that was just a weird show. It was Forbidden Door. It was two companies. It wasn't necessarily just AEW. But I do see your point.
but yeah, I mean, like I said, that's one small nitpick. But how was it actually being up and close for Sting's last match?
Man, it was just energy. Like it was a vibe. It was fucking whatever words the kids use now. It was all of that and then more. Like it was. There's not a lot of times that you go to a wrestling show and the person that everybody's cheering for doesn't have anybody cheering against them. There wasn't one fucking person in there that was cheering against Sting that I saw. Um, Everybody was just Sting, 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 and that makes it fun. That makes it, you're doing something right. And it was cool seeing, they wheeled Lex Luger right by me.
Oh, really? I didn't even see him.
Yeah, he's in a wheelchair. They had him come out. He couldn't be on TV though because he's got a legend contract. He walked out. DDP was behind him. Magnum TA was there. Nikita Koloff. Obviously, we talked about Ricky Steamboat. We talked about Ric Flair, who both got involved also. Uh, it was just standing room only where we were. Uh, and a side note, I told you, I said the guys in front of me were fucking so tall that they were kind of obstructing my view a little bit, which is why I said I probably won't ever do floor seats again unless I'm like the first one or two rows.
Mhm.
But for Sting's entrance, I stood up on my chair to make sure I got a good video, which I think I got really great video of his entrance.
Nice.
I stood up on my chair and where we were, we couldn't see the video package that well. And I watched it again today. And it was one of the coolest fucking video packages I ever saw. It was just everything was fucking well done, man.
Yeah, with the when he was in the theater, that video package,
Yeah, yep.
that was nice.
And
And
then
it's unfortunate that they couldn't use WCW or WWE. You think WWE would have threw him the bone because I feel like it's a one-way relationship. I feel like AEW has lent their wrestlers in a handful of times in WWE, and they couldn't, lend them a little bit of Sting footage. It's kind of messed up.
yeah, that is a bit of a bitch move, but in the grand scheme of things, it didn't really affect anything.
True. It's a small
Yeah.
little gripe.
But Sting's last match. How'd you enjoy the match? The match was long. It was what, like 30 minutes almost, I think, from entrance to ending. Uh, Sting wrestled a good bit of it. How'd you like it? You got to see the car crash from a way better point of view than I did.
Man, it was just pure fun. Like you said, they did everything right with it. Everybody was up for it the whole time. Uh, that, like you said, that Darby Allen, I don't even think we talked about it yet. Going off the ladder through glass. I mean, I I get it. They had to get him out of the match, but why add the glass on there?
Mm.
And it makes me sound like an old man, like I know anything about the inner works of the wrestling industry because I don't. But I just feel like that's a dangerous spot. What if he would have like cut an artery or something?
Yeah,
You saw his back.
can't control that. You're right.
I, and it's Darby. We know how he wrestles, and he's here for a good time, not a long time. But I just think that was unnecessary. You could have got the point over without the glass. I don't know what you think about that.
Somebody said mid-match, almost every week, Darby remembers that he's not with Gigi Dolan anymore, and he just tries to end
Pretty much.
it. I didn't say that. That's just what somebody said on Twitter. There was a really good video from a lady in the front row that I retweeted on Boots to Faces Twitter. She
Mhm,
was in the corner where the glass was that Sting got thrown through.
mhm.
I don't know if you could see this from where you were. All that glass went into the crowd when Sting got thrown through it.
Really?
Yeah, and me and my buddy Joey were laughing about it because security was literally going around going, "You good? All right, you good? You good?" Like he was checking on everybody to make sure nobody had gotten hurt because they could have gotten. And in the video that the lady posted, there's a kid there about 15 years old. He's in the front row, the main event, Sting, last match, and he's standing up looking the other direction, and glass just goes shooting around him. What the fuck are you looking at? You're in the front row of Sting's last match. They literally just set up because it wasn't there the whole time. The Young Bucks had literally picked it up and set it up when Sting had went through the table. And it's like, what'd you think was about to happen?
Like, why? How come he wasn't paying attention though?
I have no idea. I have no idea what he was looking at. Um, but one thing that Sting always did better than anybody, and he did it a couple times this match, is his no sell where he fires up and just
Hmm.
starts beating on it. Like, I don't know. It's just so fucking good. They did the call back to where the Young Bucks super kicked him and he no sold it. He went through a table at one point and then just got up and walked away from it and started whooping their ass. I think he was like sitting down on his back one time and he's beating on his chest, like, because they were whooping his ass for a while. He kicked out at one on one of the EVP triggers. Like,
Hmm.
they had me. I thought he was gonna lose. I really did. I was like, I was so mad. EJ. You have no idea. When they hit like the third EVP trigger, I was sitting there like with my arms crossed, just like these
uh,
motherfuckers. And then when he kicked out, I was just like, you could hear the crowd just fucking explode every time he kicked out. And when Matt tapped out and Sting won, like, just it was like such a bittersweet victory. Because it was like, fuck yeah, he won. It's like, God damn it, it's over.
yeah, I mean, he still looks like he could go another 2, 3 years, but sometimes you got to know when to say when because I mean, you never know. He could get hurt one of these days. It's better to go while you still got all your faculties than to go out, a shell of yourself like some wrestlers, Ric Flair, cough, cough. But
Who's still out there trying to fucking he can't even fucking do anything right. Um, what you were just saying is, he looks like he can still go. In the press conference, he said he's like, I just feel like it's time. Cause somebody asked him, they look like you look good. Like you could still like you carried that match for the most part. And he was just like, sometimes you just know it's time.
yeah, and I think this is gonna stick. You have some talking heads saying that maybe one more uh go around in WWE used to have it in the right way and maybe doing that last thing with Taker. But we know how bad Taker looked. I wouldn't want that for Sting.
Fuck that. Sting, this is a perfect ending. He doesn't ever need to come back. Um, Maybe not the biggest star in the history of wrestling. Maybe not the most decorated career in the history of wrestling. But I think he's had the greatest career of every wrestler. 39 years. And he's been a major player in every company he's in besides WWE. They treated him like shit, but he was only there for a cup of coffee.
He still got up. Was his last match a world title shot too?
Yeah, he's main evented against Seth Rollins at Night of Champions.
So it wasn't like he was a scrub there.
Um, but yeah, 39 years relevant for all 39 of those years. You know, you one thing that I've always appreciated about Sting was, and this was said a lot this weekend, was you hear all these shoot interviews with wrestlers and other wrestlers' names will get brought up. Nobody ever said anything bad about Sting. And I feel like
True.
39 years, like that's fucking hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I haven't heard any stories. Maybe that goes back to he's always been a pretty devout Christian, right?
No, he didn't do that until like 98, 99. Like he wrestled,
Okay.
you know, 15 years before he became a big Christian. But I think that may have been also like why he was easy to work with was because he was just like, whatever. Like it's probably why the shit with Starcade happened because, you know, you listen to all the stories about what happened that day, none of them involve him politicking. And he's just kind of like go with the flow. And I think even going back to WWE losing to Triple H, I think if he just, you know, for the all intents and purposes, fucking does what they give him to do and tries to make the best of it instead of politicking for himself and shit like that. Because if there was ever one time to politic, it was losing to Triple H at WrestleMania.
Man, he probably didn't have a choice.
I mean,
That
he
was
could
just stupid.
have not signed with him when they said, "Yeah, you can come back to Mania and lose to Triple H." He'd be like, "All right, I'm good. I'm going back to TNA."
You know, Vince tears up things before right before the show. Maybe they didn't tell him what the Mania plans were.
No, there's stories of like uh they were running through the match and Scott Hall and Kevin Nash and I think it was DDP. Um, they were in the corner, and when they went over to finish, Scott Hall's like, "Who's Sting got as his agent? Like, why is he losing?" So they knew he was gonna lose, like going over the match, like with all the run-ins and shit like that. Um, but whatever, fuck WWE for that. But yeah, this was the perfect send off. I don't think he should ever come back. Maybe not to wrestle anyway. If he just wants to like show up and hit somebody with a baseball bat every now and then, but to wrestle, I think this was the perfect way to go out.
Yeah, pop up, maybe accompany Darby one of these days. Little managerial type situation. But yeah, no need
I
to
think
wrestle.
Darby should just turn heel Wednesday night tomorrow.
He's off to Mount Everest, I heard. He needed to heal up his shredded back. He don't need to be on TV.
No, Tony got him booked in a match already this week. I think he's fighting who the fuck was he fighting? He got booked in the match before the pay-per-view went off the air.
Well, that's just stupid. Maybe they'll change plans after what
Yeah,
happened.
maybe. But his singles career is off and running already because he's already booked in the match and they've basically said that Sting and Darby have forfeited the titles already and the tournament starting.
I'm glad this thing won, but this was one of the reasons where I thought that he may have gone his back. Well, I don't want to see another tournament, but here we go again. Another AEW tournament.
Well, the man was 29-0, 30-0 if you count his New Japan match, or I'm sorry, Noah match with the Great Muta and Darby Allin. So in 3 years, 29 wins, 0 losses, tag team championship, a retirement, all for the man they call Sting.
And
Well,
they did it perfectly. They never put him in the limelight and taking somebody's spot with like a world title. And like you said, his AEW one was handled pretty perfectly. All the stuff that they don't do right, they definitely did Sting right.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw the Players Tribune. They had all the wrestlers and like family members like leave him voicemails and shit. There's a video of him playing it. That was pretty good. Um, there was a lot of shit that got posted about him this weekend that was really good. So I enjoyed all of it. Didn't cry.
Allegedly.
Thought allegedly. Maybe one more double Jack and cranberry would have got me, but I was good. Um, but one of the stories that was funny was Britt Baker. She was talking about it and she was like, I don't know if you remember, but they didn't tell us you were coming and I wrestled a match. And when I came back, you were next and you were standing there and your whole sting get up. And she was like, and my jaw dropped and I couldn't talk. And you walked up to me and said, how's it going? I'm Macho Man Randy Savage.
That's funny. This thing even got a sense of humor. Look at that.
And they say Sting's funny backstage. I wouldn't know. He never came on boot to the face. But yeah. So yeah, that's AEW Revolution. That was the weekend, man. You got anything else you want to add to your trip in Greensboro?
Um, on the plane ride there, I saw Mike Bennett on the plane, just being a mark for himself. He had his undisputed hat on because I may have not known it was him, and I saw him. And then on the way back, I saw Mariah May and Dante Martin get on the plane with each other. I'm like, they're a couple, but then getting off the plane, they like went their separate ways. They got off separately because I was still getting because I was on the seats ahead of them. But after I got off, I was getting my bag and stuff together. I saw her walk out first, and then him like a minute or two later. So maybe that's just a coincidence they're on that same plane.
I just realized what I just saw on NXT. That's wild. Um, Speaking of Mike Bennett and the Kingdom, fucking Kyle O'Reilly returned in a weird fashion.
Yeah, that was weird. I didn't even recognize him at first with his long hair.
Yeah, but he was like sitting there dancing like he was gonna attack everybody, and then he just walked away.
Yeah, I don't know where they're going with that. And frankly, I kind of don't really care. Adam Cole being injured really threw this storyline off.
Um, Also, you had I can't think of my boy's name that was in uh Will Ospreay's group. He came
Oh
out.
yeah, Kyle Fletcher. That's gonna be interesting to see what they do with that.
You
'Cause
think Ospreay's gonna end up taking the world TV title from him from ROH? I don't think that title's big enough for Ospreay.
nah, that's another thing. Because I think Swerve will probably win it at Double or Nothing. But how long can you keep Osprey away from that title?
All in.
You cool with Swerve having a what 4 month title reign?
That'd be
Like
about what Joe has.
yeah, true. Like we said, not all title reigns have to be a year long. But go ahead.
AEW also announced that they will be having a pay-per-view in St. Louis next month.
Right in my neck of the woods. When they announced it and I was talking to you about it on Sunday, I'm like, I'm not going to that. But we'll see how I feel when it gets closer. If it's a good card, I might have to do that little hour and 45-minute drive there.
That's what, like 2 or 3 weeks after WrestleMania?
Yeah, it's a little bit spaced out, but we'll see. It depends on, and it's kind of a smaller arena, but like we said, it's still gotta, you know, play off this momentum. And that's another thing I want to say. After coming off this big weekend and you got momentum, I think this Dynamite show on Wednesdays is big. You think the AEW could keep the momentum going forward? You don't have Sting to sell out an arena like you did this past weekend. And I know we don't do spoilers here, but for all intents and purposes, it's probably going to be a former WWE Women's Champion coming back next week. So you think AEW could keep the momentum?
I hope they keep the momentum for tomorrow night. or whenever y'all listen to this, I'll be going to Dynamite tomorrow here in Metro Atlanta. I'm trying to find right now the WrestleTix. Let's see, Gas South Arena. Here we go. Wednesday, March 6th, 7:30. They got the arena set up for 3,700 tickets, and they've sold 3,000 of them. So about 800 tickets left almost.
That's it.
Yeah, it's not terrible.
I mean, and if it's spread out, that won't look bad at all. When it starts getting in the thousands, then you can really tell the difference. But I wonder what about Collision? It's like the day after. That's what I think that's not gonna do as well
Yeah,
as Dynamite.
I'm trying to find that. I actually looked at Collision for to see how good the seats would have been. Because I wanted to try to steal some front row seats, and I would have went, but uh, those were all sold out. Yeah, man, I can't find what Collision is. Greensboro's final numbers. They sold 16,100 seats at a 16,130. So only 30 seats were left available towards the end. It didn't look like 16,000 people. Or am I crazy?
Yeah, it looked packed, man.
I mean, it was packed. Like the arena just didn't look that big. Maybe because I was on the floor and I couldn't see the totality of everything. Like I had to look around in order to see the whole building, as opposed to being like sitting back and looking and seeing the whole building. But from where I was sitting, I was kind of doing the math, and I'm like, I don't think this might not even be 10,000. But I could be. I was drunk too.
And
So
it was people sitting like in the obstructed view seats, like on the side,
yeah,
and like the top level. Like if you look at it from my vantage point, like it looked like real steep. So I could see it being 16,000 in there. If it's like a 20,000 seat arena,
yeah.
not including the stage, I can see that. Or they could just be lying. Who knows? But it was packed, which was a good thing for AEW. Like
And
we
shout out to
said,
the
go
Green
ahead.
Coliseum. They did a really good job with everything. I was thinking that Coliseum would have been old and run down like Greensboro itself, but it actually wasn't that bad. It's actually a pretty nice arena. I liked it. I liked the setup of it. So shout out to them. I enjoyed it. My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I can't even remember what I was gonna say, but I do have one more thing. So a guy I was sitting next to, he was maybe a little bit younger than me. He was a big, tall dude, brother. Uh, Shout out to him, Harold. His name's Harold. He's a pastor, actually. I found out later once I started following him on social media. Him and I were sitting next to a group of like hipster dudes, AEW fan base. And Harold asked us a question, all our people in this section. He was like, "Is Sting top 10 all time?" And me, of course, I'm like, "Of course he is." But then I had to take into consideration that I'm older now. I come from that WCW area, and the kids around me, they were like in their mid-20s. They're like, "Nah, Sting's not top 10." And then me and the Harold guy, well, the Harold guy agreed with them. He's like, "I don't think Sting is top 10." Like I said, he might have been a little bit younger than me, early 30s, maybe a little bit older than me. You can never tell with us, black don't crack. But then we started like naming that, like he started naming like that first tear that pretty much on everybody's list. Of course, they named Terry, even though he's disqualified for his out of the ring stuff on my list. But they named Terry, Stone Cold, Rock, and I couldn't really argue in that. But then in that next tear, which is when it kind of got murky, they named Undertaker. I'm not a
No,
big Taker fan, so I
no.
argued against him. Uh,
Under
Michaels, Bret Hart, and then you had I think the tear. I wouldn't say below it, but a different era, and is guys that like a lot of that work that they did. Whereas when I wasn't watching, they named the Cenas, the Ortons, the Batistas, like that. But like they had to make a like heavy argument, and they couldn't really name like more than 8 putting past thing. They had to like really stretch to try to figure out people other than that.
I think he's definitely top 10. I don't think it's that hard to and I think no matter what way you want to classify it, you want to classify in ring, you want to classify maybe not in ring specifically, but match quality and stuff like that. Like Sting's had some bangers with a lot of people, a lot of different sides people. You want to talk about charisma, you want to talk about moving the needle, you want to talk about merch sales, you want to talk about impact on people that are watching, like how many people were staying for Halloween and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like, fuck yeah, he's top 10. I'll give you Rock and Stone Cold and even the Immortal Races. Like, those are the three biggest names in the history of wrestling, and even Flair. Sting ain't far behind all that, and I don't mind saying that. I don't have a problem putting him behind those people because those are the biggest names in the history of wrestling. But you can't tell you can't tell two of those guys' story without talking about Sting.
What do you say to a kid that may want to knock him out and play like a Cena, Orton, or even like a Roman
Mm-mm.
and like I don't know, a Seth at the stretch, but like a Roman, like who didn't really see him and want to put those ones ahead of him?
I tell them to grow up.
He, that can't be the only solution to that.
I mean, I don't know what else you want me to tell you. Like you
Yeah.
weren't there. It's like when you know your parents probably tried to tell you about Gale Sayers and Jim Brown and shit like that when you were watching Emmett when you were younger, or other running backs. You're like, and then you see these motherfuckers there in black and white and they look like they're running in quicksand. You're like, ain't no way Emmett would have got with these motherfuckers. It's a different era, and at one time, you know, I'll tell them like this: you take your favorite wrestler that you're trying to put over Sting, and you have them not talk for a year and a half, and see how over they get.
That's still like my number one wrestling story of all time. I mean, I wasn't there with the mega powers and all that. People love that year-long storytelling, but they didn't have week-to-week TV back then. I feel like you should give the Sting story more points on that. Uh, I put that. I always flip flop back and forth between that and Austin from like Royal Rumble '98 to WrestleMania '99, and I I usually always go with Sting first, but the only reason you made docket was the way Hogan messed it up at Starcade.
Mhm.
But that's, in my opinion, that's probably one of the best stories told in wrestling.
You used to watch 3 hours and 10 minutes because Nitro used to start 3 minutes early, and it would always go 7 to 10 minutes late. You would watch that entire show just to hope Sting popped up for like 2 or 3 minutes without saying nothing. And it was the biggest fucking pop. Anytime he would jump down from the ceiling, come up through the ring, just walk down, dress up like somebody else. Like Austin was over, Rock was over, but you can't tell me that there was anybody more over than Sting at that time. You can't.
When Sting was in the midst of it, Stone Cold wasn't even really Stone Cold yet.
97 ish. He was getting there.
He
Him,
was
him,
on the rise, but once
yeah.
Tyson got injected, that's like when Stone Cold kind of went to another level. 97, when Sting was in the Raptors, like it was pandemonium down in that ring. Whatever
And
you
then you gotta put longevity in it too. Like the guy just retired, 39 years into the into his career. And how many of them guys could have put on the match that he put on last night 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
mm, none right now. Shit, Triple H had to. I know we didn't put him on the list, but he had to retire for a bad ticker, and he's what 15 years younger than Sting.
Yeah, you gotta have longevity, you gotta have luck, you gotta have skill. It's Sting's the guy, man. I I know he's my guy, and like I'm a little biased about it, but if you really sit down and think about like how long he did it and how he was on top and how he deferred a lot to other people to try to do what was best for the company, but at the end of the day, they always went back to old reliable.
Yeah, and some people might dock him for not going to WWE in his prime, but he's just being loyal to his company.
And he was right. He didn't want to go to WWE because he thought WWE would hold a grudge against WCW people, especially once WWE bought WCW. He said he saw what they were doing to Booker T and DDP and how they did Buff Bagwell. He's like, I ain't going there. And then what happened? He finally went. They lied to him and told him they were doing better. And he jobs out to Triple H at WrestleMania. Gigi Dolan's on my TV.
True. But I wonder what would have happened though if he would have went over pre WCW buyout.
I think the best time for him to go would have been the mid '90s while he was still Surfer Sting.
Mm.
And honestly, I think he would have killed it. You'd have never got the Crow Sting though.
So what about you don't think he would have did well host Starcade like right before he joined the Wolfpack?
I'm sure he would have. He was in really good shape then. And he was, I I think even after WWE bought WCW, like you were saying, he went to TNA a couple years later and put on really great matches. I think if he would have went to WWE instead of TNA, he would have been pretty fucking big. Um, Rumor has it WrestleMania 27, I think, the one in Atlanta.
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember this, but there were vignettes back then. It was like March 1st, 2000, whatever the year was. Those were all for Sting. It was supposed to be Sting versus Undertaker.
Mhm. I
And the
think
deal
that was like 2010, right?
that was in Atlanta, so I don't know what year it was, but it was supposed to be Sting and Undertaker main event WrestleMania in Atlanta. And the deal fell through, and they brought The Rock in to host it, and Cena and Miz ended up doing it. But from everything I heard, that was all for Sting, and then turns out it was Triple H that came out. But it was for Sting to come, and the deal fell through for whatever reason. Nobody's saying why, but I want to think Sting himself said that's what that was.
Man, I feel like yeah, it's just best that to leave that in the past. Like some things, you know, are best left not having happened.
Yep.
Like this is one thing that you could always think about. What if Sting and Undertaker would have happened? I definitely don't need to see it. Like anything past like what 2012 or after that, like just leave it in the past.
I'll tell you what happened. Sting would have whooped his ass.
They probably would have booked the same thing they did with Triple H because Taker was a quote unquote WWE guy, even though he was Mean Mark back in WCW.
That's all I got, EJ. If you want to get up out of here, it's getting late early already. I got to get up early to get to work and get done so I can go to AEW Dynamite.
Yeah, we definitely have to have you give the summary next week, see how it goes. Like we said, hopefully you keep their momentum up and have some type of storytelling going forward.
Well, EJ, man, it was good seeing you this weekend.
Oh, for sure. Like you said, the first boot to the face meeting since joining the show. It was a fun time, man.
For EJ Reed, I'm Chris Rucker. This has been Boot to the Face AEW Revolutions review. Sure, until next week. Peace.
Yeah, they got it bumping. Leg drop, boot to the face, we won't fold. Quick to put a dude.